welcome back in. How you been doing since I last saw you?
Pretty good. We have made the transition to the new house and the new area pretty smoothly. Um, Tara's started her new job and things seem to be going well. Um, I'm not really looking even for a job right now. Um, so I guess the biggest problem that we've had lately is like budget stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she just really doesn't like to talk about it, and I feel like it's a really important thing to talk about right now because I don't know, it probably doesn't matter that much because in the end, like it's gonna be a wash. Like she's making about what I made, but um, there's just a lot of change because it's a new house and it's new insurance and it's a new place to live and yeah. So I don't. She just doesn't want to talk about it.
Okay. So when she doesn't want to talk about it, talk to me about how that conversation usually goes. Like, does she give a reason why she doesn't want to talk about it?
Um, I guess. Well, no, not really. Actually, it normally ends up that she's come home from work, and I mean they're always long days, um, so she comes home, and then I'll strike up conversations at some point in the night, and just say like, "Hey, can we sit down and talk about the budget?" Um, and she just kind of like shuts off, and then she eventually ends up saying like, "This is too stressful," maybe.
Okay.
So
Okay. So she comes home from work at a stressful job and doesn't want to have those conversations. Talk to
yeah.
me about why those conversations are so important for you.
Um, why? I mean, one like I'm not working.
Mm.
Um, and even when I was working, like I'm very much like a numbers guy, and I really like for our budget to be like clear and concise and like well laid out, and like we have our like various categories that things go into, and if we end up overspending, then like she and I need to have a conversation about where the extra funds are going to come from. Maybe she spent too much, or I've spent too much, or we've eaten out too much, or we've bought too many groceries, or whatever the situation is. And I guess I just want to make sure that it's all like laid out and clear, and that like we're working toward like future prosperity. Um, but I yeah, I want our budget to be. I want us to stick to a budget. I guess
Okay.
that's the most important thing.
Okay. Do you feel like both of you have the same goal of wanting to stick to a budget?
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. It seems like sticking to a budget and being the numbers guy is really important to you. Has that always been important to you?
I mean, I guess kind of since like I went to college,
Mm-hmm.
cuz like I don't know, my mom and dad were never like great with money, and then I went to a private school for college, and I just kind of knew that like if I didn't figure it out, like it's not going to get figured out. Um so I guess that's when that started. It was like
Okay. Okay. So,
graduated high school.
yeah, around that college time where
Yeah.
you gained some of that independence, you
Yeah.
kind of changed the way you did finances from the way you were raised.
Yeah.
So, talk to me about what you know about how she was raised and what her perspective on that might be.
Well, I mean, her parents were divorced, so I guess she kind of had like two different, like, well, I say two different vibes, but like, neither of her parents really were ever concerned about money either. I mean, it's honestly really similar to how my mom and dad handled things because, like, I mean, each of her parents have ended up with big financial issues. Not like dire, but like when her dad passed, like right before we met, they pretty much had to sell everything to cover debts. Um, which like it all worked out. There like it was covered, but not because her dad thought a lot about that. Just happened to end up that he had more assets than he had debt. Um, and now like her mom's older and is like constantly talking about wanting to retire, but she doesn't really seem to have a plan on how to retire. And so I don't know. It honestly feels like we both came from like the same start, but now we're not at the same finish line. I don't know.
That's right. You guys dealt with it in very different ways. So for her, you mentioned that she gets very stressed when you bring up the topic of money. But it appears that you get stressed when money isn't discussed. Again, both from the same sort of beginnings with your parents, but you just cope with it in different ways.
Yeah.
We're both still feeling that stressed feeling. Do you ever communicate that stressed feeling, or what does that conversation look like when you bring up money?
Well, like I said, I'll bring up that like, hey, I've been looking over the budget, and is it okay if we like sit down and talk about something? Just like a question that I want to bring to her, because like I said, I don't want to make decisions without her, but I feel like she doesn't want to make decisions. So anyway, so I ask her to sit down, and sometimes she's like, can we talk about it later? Most of the time she's like, sure, like, can we keep it light? Because she knows that she's going to get stressed. And then somewhere along the way, like, I feel like we're taking things very light. It's like, oh, like, we're doing okay, but there's this one little problem. And, like, I think she hears problem and just, like, flies off the handle. And in my head, like, I have a very clear understanding of what all's in the budget. So, like, I say problem and I mean, like, oh, we've, like, eaten out beyond our eating out budget, which means, like, we probably need to cut back somewhere else for a month or even a week. And she hears problem and assumes that, like, we're gonna have to sell the house and be homeless and eat beans and rice. And, like, that doesn't compute for me.
And I imagine you don't want the conversation to escalate to that point each time, right?
It never really escalates to that point, but I think in her brain, I don't know, maybe we just have different vocabularies.
Okay.
But like,
what would it be?
What's another word for problem? I don't know. Like,
yeah. What would it be like to approach it conversation-wise in a different way and recognize that you both have similar feelings around money? You just deal with those feelings in different ways.
Can you explain, like, how the feelings are similar?
Mm-hmm. So, you mentioned that you get stressed
Okay.
when money isn't discussed. And she gets stressed when money is discussed. So if we take that similar feeling of stress and we recognize it at the beginning and we acknowledge that it exists for both parties,
Okay.
do you think that it would help the conversation move further if you are recognizing that both of you have that similar feeling?
Probably.
Okay. Do you feel confident that you know how to communicate that you feel stressed?
I think so, but
Okay.
I guess I like my stress doesn't feel that stressful, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Because I have a I've already sat down with this spreadsheet and I've already figured out like multiple different courses of action that can solve the problem. And she just hears the word problem and I don't know, it feels like she just doesn't want to like go on that little journey with me, but
Okay. Is there another feeling that you would identify better with when it comes to what you want to communicate with her that you're feeling?
another
Maybe not stressed,
okay.
but is there another feeling that you would want to communicate with her to begin that conversation?
I mean, I guess talking about like my end goal of
Okay.
like everything's gonna be okay because we are saving and we are like working hard toward like I don't know, financial freedom or like a well established future. Um but there's like there's a hiccup in exactly the method that we've decided on to reach that end goal.
Okay. Okay. How do you feel she would respond to that wording?
It feels crazy to me that a hiccup and a problem could be that different, but probably she would hear hiccup as less problematic than problem.
Because I think recognizing that both of you may have similar feelings, it's recognizing that those feelings come from different places, different ways of coping. We have to recognize that both of you come from those different places.
Yeah.
And that's how we move the conversation along.
Okay.
But even then, when you're feeling these different emotions, talk to me about the ways that you typically cope with those different emotions.
Well, she'll normally say, I don't think I can handle this right now, or I don't like, can we talk about something else? And then I just kind of have to decide what to do on my own. So like, I don't know. It's not frustrating to have to figure it out on my own. It's just frustrating that I have become frustrating, if that makes sense.
Okay.
At least that's how I'm perceiving how the conversation's going, is that like I just want to solve a problem, but now the way that she's like needing to shut down the conversation is coming off as like, I don't know, like you're annoying me or you're bothering me, and like I just want this to stop and this conversation to go away. And
is there evidence for that, or is there what your brain is perceiving as evidence?
I mean, feels tough because, like, it feels a little bit like both.
Okay. But if we recognize that there are multiple perspectives to a situation, instead of having that thought of, I'm annoying her,
Yeah.
and we step back and look at those multiple perspectives, how could you reframe that thought when you see what her response is of wanting to stop that conversation?
I mean, I'm not the one that's annoying her. I'm not what's annoying her, I guess. It's I don't know exactly what the root would be. Like is talking about money at all what's, I don't know, annoying her is probably not even the right word there. Is talking about money the thing that's frustrating her, or is is the fact that maybe we've eaten out one too many times being a problem, like, scary to her, that, like, I don't know, like, one little thing can, like, throw us into turmoil.
Okay. Do you think that, over the next week it would be more beneficial for you guys to have that conversation of, how do these talks about money make you feel, rather than, let's sit down and work through the budget together?
I'm sure that would help.
Because then you would gain that mutual understanding of, hey, here's where I'm coming from.
Yeah.
And here's where I'm coming from.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then that may, in turn, make all of those conversations after, maybe not super smooth, but it could help a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So,
how did you phrase that again?
which part?
Instead of talking about this, talking about what?
So instead of talking about the budget, let's sit down and talk through the budget.
Okay.
Why not have a conversation of, how does it make you feel when we talk through the budget?
Oh, okay.
Because I'd like us
like,
on the same page.
meta, like,
yeah.
Okay.
And then you gain a deeper understanding with each other.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And, I love to give homework. So,
okay.
How do you feel about trying to have that conversation this week? Do you feel confident in using assertive language to communicate with her what you're feeling and what you're thinking?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if anything, like, I could walk away understanding why we get caught in this cycle.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down that homework assignment. Okay? And so next week when we meet again, I'm going to check in with that. Okay? Does that sound like a plan?
Yeah.
All right. Well, why don't we go ahead and schedule you for that next appointment, and then I will see you then.
Okay.
All right. Wonderful. It was good to see you today.
Thanks.
Thank you.